Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Kuf Hey in Yevmot for Shlem for Yosef, Real Ben Chaim Michal, and Elazar Ben Reuma. Yesterday we got down about 15 lines down on the page. V'ikir Amri, about a third of the way down. V'ikir Amri, we're talking about. Yesterday we brought down one opinion as Shalchu Lavur Shmuel. They send several members. These Gemaras that they send messages to Shmuel. The first one we saw yesterday was Yivami Shuraka Tachlot. The idea is that if the Yavama started off by spitting, she must continue the process of chalitza, because once she's done the spitting, she can no longer marry the brothers, and therefore, but she's not yet fit to marry. She's not free to marry anybody else, so she must continue the process. And we discussed that. We said that could even be going according to Rav Kiva, even though he holds that the spitting is not mandatory. That if you did the chalitza without the spitting, it's still valid. But if you did the rakika alone, it's enough that it ruins her from marrying the brothers. And she has to now, so it's what's called the chalitza psula. She must now carry on with the rest of the chalitza to make it proper. We saw yesterday, Rashi said at the top of the page, Rashi said that wherever we use the lashon of psula, that's actually Rashi at the top of today's daf. That kol makom sheshninu chalitza psula paselos. Wherever we talk about chalitza psula, means that it doesn't free her enough. It's not a proper chalitza, but she's still forbidden from marrying the brothers. The same way when we say a woman, Rashi brings down also the Gemara in Gittin that if you say a get is puzzle, you get a get puzzle, but it's enough she can't marry a Kohen anymore. It means it's not enough to free her from her husband, but it's enough that it's ruined her from marrying the Kohen. The same thing over here. Chalitza psula means that it's not good enough for her to. It's not good enough to let her remarry anybody in the shuk, but it's enough to ruin her from the brothers. So you must continue on and complete the proper chalitza. Some say, this is where we left off yesterday. This is what they sent Abu to Shmuel. Here's the point: that if the Yavama who spat started off by spitting in front of the bez, and they saw the rikiko, she should do chalitza, but she doesn't have to spit another time. Even though normally, what's the order? The pasuk says v'cholotza, that she v'cholotz nalo me'al raglo, she removes his shoe v'yarka and then spits. But if she started off by spitting, she doesn't have to repeat the spitting a second time after she removed the shoe. There was a story with a woman, a Yavama rather, a Yavama does come to Rav Ami. Rav was sitting in front of Rav Ami, Rakaka, and she spat before she did chalitza. So Rav Ami said to Rav Abba Bar Mamo, now let her take her shoe off, make her do chalitza, and then free up her case, and she'll be out of it. Rav Abba said to Babita Merrick, but she has to spit. How can you tell me now? She started by spitting, and you say, listen, make sure she does the chalitza, supervise the chalitza. But it's not enough just to do chalitza. Doesn't she have to spit again? She says, but she already spat before. So let her spit again. What's the big deal? Says, a problem will come out from that. A dysfunction will come out. Why? If you say she must spit again, Amri people will say, the first spitting did absolutely nothing. People will think that if she just spat, she can still marry the Yavama. She can still marry her brother-in-law. They'll say, why did you have to do another spitting after removing the shoe? Because the first spitting doesn't do anything. So people will think that if she just started off by spitting and she changed her mind, and he says, okay, listen, I'll marry you, I'll give you money, whatever, she can still marry the Yavama. No, she can't. Once she does chalitza, once she does the spitting is like a chalitza psula. As we saw yesterday, Yivama shuraka tachlos, because it's a chalitza psula. So therefore he said, if she started off by spitting, just do the chalitza, don't spit again, because people will think that the first spitting accomplished nothing, and it did. It's got to be the same as we said, says the order is not important. If you're supposed to do the chalitza first, then the spitting. If you did the spitting first, it's not indispensable to do it in that order. Husavar, so Rav Abba Bar Mamo felt that the Chuyikamacha is just pushing him off. The order is not important. that he was just pushing him off, but it wasn't really the case. Enough like he went out, duck, he checked, and he found the Tanya, whether the chalitza took place before the spitting, or whether the spitting took place before removal of the shoe, masha asasi, it's good enough. Either way, it's good enough. So what do we see? That spitting, although according to Rav Kiva, it's not absolutely required, because according to Rav Kiva, it's kosher and it's bound. That's the psak. If he did the chalitza, even without the reading of the recital of the verses or the spitting, it's good enough. However, if you did the spitting, that's enough to ruin her from marrying the brothers. It's a chol the chalitza psul, and then you must still do a proper chalitza, remove the shoe in order to free her to marry somebody, marry anybody in the shoe. Levi Nufik Lagras, and Levi went out to the country towns. They asked him the following question: Give this mouth. She has to remove the shoe. What happens if she doesn't have any hands? Her hands have been amputated. She doesn't have any hands. Give this mouth. Can she do chalitza? She can't she can't remove the shoe with her hands. So what can she do chalitza? Another question. What happens if she spat blood? She didn't spit spittle. She spat blood. What's the halacha there? A third question they asked him. Pasuk says in Daniel that the Malach said, Aval agid lecha as a Russian b'chsav. I'll tell you what's written up on what God has written down, so to speak, what's written down in writing. Emes b'chsav. I'll tell you what's written down. B'chsav emes, in a truthful writing. Is there a writing that God has that's not truthful? What's going on? So they asked him these three questions: two regarding chalitza and one regarding this pasuk of Daniel. Lava b'yadei Levi, excuse me, did not know the answer to these questions. So he asked in the base medrash these three questions. Amrulay, listen, does it say she has to remove it with her hand? She can remove it with her teeth also. Let her bend over, untie the shoes with her teeth, and remove it that way. It doesn't say her hand, it says v'cholza, she has to remove it. Secondly, miksiv v'yarka, does it say she has to spit? Spit? It says she spits. Whatever comes out of her mouth should be good enough. Emes, what does that mean? The pasuk says, I will tell you what's written down in a truthful writing. Is there a ksav that God, it's not truth, it's no kasha. If Hashem gave a decree and he swore to it, that's a truthful one. But if he gave exar din without a shvua, he can retract that. That's what we mean. It doesn't mean that God says something which isn't true. He just said that if he didn't swear to it, God will easily retract that exar din, that decree. Could have Shmuel Barami, the Amar of Shmuel Barami, Amar of Yonasan, Menai exar din she'eshim o shvua. How do you know if God gave a decree that he swore to, she'ein maskar, it's never going to be torn up, Shnemar? Eli's children had sinned. So Hashem swore to the house of Eli, Miskaper of him Beis Eli, if the sin of Beis Eli will be atoned for, by bringing karbanos, ad olam, forever. In other words, they were cursed that they were all going to die young, as we'll see. They're not going to be atoned for with karbanos, with a slaughtered animal or a flour offering. Avo miskaperu b'divrei Torah. Torah can be miskaper for everything. So that's what they said. But Hashem swore, he didn't tear up that decree. In other words, that decree that he swore to, he will never atone, their family will never be atoned for by karbanos. But by Torah, the Gemara says they could. He says more than that. Rabbah said that the Torah can atone for the sin, even though karbanos will not. And Abaya says, yes, the karbanos will not atone, but Gemilas Chesed will. In other words, number one, you see here that Torah and Gemilas Chesed can be stronger than karbanos. So Rabba Vayim and Beis Eli, so they both came from the house of Eli, so they were also under that curse. Rabba, who spent his time only learning Torah, he lived 40 years, which is considered long, because as we'll see, they were cursed that they wouldn't even live till the age of 20. Abaye was also both in Torah and Gemilas Chesed, he lived 60 years. Famous Gemara, we have that elsewhere. So Abaye and Rabba both darshan the pasuk. Okay, God said he'll never tear up that decree, and they were going to be cursed forever, but only that they wouldn't receive atonement via karbanos, but they would be atoned for by Torah and Gemilas Chesed, respectively. Abaye and Rabba had two different sheets. And Abaye held with Gemilas Chesed, so he did Torah and Gemilas Chesed. He lived for 60 years. There was a family in Shalim. They died around 18 years of age. Everybody, all the males in that family died at a young age. They told maybe you're from the family of Eli too. By that time, the family had spread out and they didn't even know who their ancestors were. Maybe you're from the family of Eli. All the increase of your house will all die. Anoshim will all die as soon as they reach manhood, meaning reach a young age of the 18, 20. Go, occupy yourselves with Torah, and you'll live. They went, they studied Torah, and they lived. They called it Mishpachas Yochanan al Shmo. They called it the family of Yochanan because Yochanan Zakkai had given them this advice, which helped them to live. How do you know if it was a Gzar Din on a tzibur, not on a individual family like here? It was a family of Eli. But if it was a Gzar Din on a whole tzibur, then it'll never be sealed. Gemara says, what do you mean Eino Nechem? It's not sealed. But it says, if you cleanse yourself with niter, it's like a chemical, and you put a lot of soap on, your sin is still marked before me. In other words, it's written down, it's sealed. So what do you mean it's not sealed? Even a Gzar Din that's on the tzibur, even if it's been sealed by God, Niskar can be torn up. Who's like our God whenever we call him, whatever the reason is, we call him. Even if we had a Gzar Din, we can call God. I've accepted also the famous Russia, but it says, seek God when he will be found. Smash that he's not found b'chol koreinu anytime. It's only certain times. One for a yachid. For a tzibur, it's b'chol koreinu. When the tzibur cries out to God, whenever we call out to God, Hashem listens. A yachid is going to only at certain specific times that he can reach God easily. The yachid aim is when is the yachid? When is the time that the yachid reach God? Amar Nachman, Amar Abaravua, Elos Yom Shpen Rashon Yom Kippur. That's the time when even an individual can reach God, the same way that a tzibur can reach God any time of year. They sent the father of Shmuel another drasha. We had one drasha that's Yibam Shuraka Tachlots that it's a once she got spit, it's called a chalitza psula, which has to be rectified, but she can no longer marry the brothers. And the other drasha that we started with today was that they sent him the similar drasha. It was like a Ikad Amri. They sent him a drasha. They said, Yibam Shuraka, she shouldn't get spit. Does not require another spitting afterwards. In fact, she shouldn't do it because it might come out. It's because people will think that the first spit doesn't do anything, and it does. Now they sent Shmuel, Yibam Shuraka dam tachlos. Even if she spat dam, right? It's not good enough. Tachlos, meaning this. We said before the question, they asked them, what happens when she spat down? She says, who says? What's wrong with that? Just says she should spit. It doesn't say what comes out of her mouth. Here he says, she has to do chalitza, meaning it's spitting. If she spat blood, it's a spitting, and therefore it's a chalitza psula, as we said, which means it forbids her now from marrying the brothers, but she's not free to marry the shuk. So she must continue on with the process, even if she spat down. You might think, dam is not spit. I didn't spit, so she didn't do anything, and she's still free to marry the brothers. No. It's impossible to spit out blood without having some particles or drops of spit in there. When you spit out of your mouth, even when you spit out of your mouth, you're bloody sometimes. Brush your teeth, or you floss or something. You got spit in there. You got some blood, but when you spit out, there's some blood. There's some spit there too. So she definitely spat. Meisvei. The person is a zav. So a zav is liquids that come out of him are tamei. So what about blood that came out of his mouth? Not the natural way. Normally blood doesn't come out of your mouth. Or blood came out of his penis. It's not normal to have that. If you have that, you better go to the doctor, right? It's not normal to have blood come out of your mouth or out of your penis. So I might think that dam that comes out of his mouth or out of his penis is also tamei. Because is that a natural emission? Only the zav, the gonorrhea emission that comes out of the stomach. That's not tamei elatar, because it's not considered normal. Spit comes out of his mouth. Yeah, the spit comes out of his mouth. That's tamei, because a person has spit in his mouth. It's normal to have liquid spit, saliva in your mouth. So if a zav spits at you, and went on you, you're tamei. Right? If a zav had some gonorrhea commission, like shechva zera, it's tamei. But dam that comes out of his mouth, the is not is tar. So that's not a normal emission. In other words, if dam comes out of your blood, that's not. So how do you say that if she spat blood, that's considered the beginning of chalitza. It's considered the spit of chalitza, and she must continue the process. She can no longer marry the brothers. And yet we see here that dam that comes out of your mouth is not tamei. In other words, it's not considered a normal emission. It's lo kasha. One where she sucks, and when she spits, when you try to spit, you first suck in, gather up some saliva and spit it out. Then there's saliva mixed up with the blood. But if blood is just oozing out of his mouth like a wound, right? Somebody was injured and blood is just coming out of their mouth, it's dripping out of their mouth from some source in there. That's not saliva. That is nothing, and that's not a normal emission, and therefore it's not tummy. So saliva that comes out of itself's mouth is tummy. Whereas if he has a flow of blood coming out, like there's something tore inside his mouth or some vessels and it's shooting out, that's not normal emission. That's not tummy. The same thing. If blood came out of his penis, that's not normal. He's got an infection of some sort. That's not a normal emission of a zav, and therefore that's a shechva zera that comes out. That's normal. Gonorrhea that comes out. That's normal. That would be tamei. But blood that came from those sources is not tamei at all. So the Mishnah said cherish and nechlutz. If a cherish was given chalitza, nechlutz means she took off his shoe, or all these cases, it's chalitza psula, right? Because a cherish, what does it mean? It's possible that it's possible, as we said. Chalitza psula, and Rashi explained the chalitza psula means doesn't free her to marry the shuk, but she can no longer marry the brothers. I'm not being a marav. So the Gemara says at the top now of him, that's Rav Meir Shapiro, right? That he goes, it's meaningless, and therefore, so we said it's really going on cherish and nechlutz and on cotton, right? He says cherish and nechlutz, v'chamesh shecholza, v'chaletz is l'cotton, v'chalitza sapsula. So these are words of Rav Meir, but the Chum say chalitza cotton is meaningless, right? Chalitza is bentesha, cotton megadol, like meaning Rav Meir holds that a chalitza of a 9-year-old, meaning of a child who knows but he's not bar mitzvah, is like get of a gadol. It ruins her from getting remarried. You can't marry a kohen, and this if it's a get, or it ruins her from performing yibam, but it's still a chalitza psul. That's from Meshi. The Chum say no. The chalitza of a cotton is meaningless. It doesn't do anything. We'll talk about a cherish later on, but here he's probably going on because it's cotton klum. A chalitza of a cotton doesn't do anything. We'll talk later. He doesn't talk about a cherish, but we'll talk about that. Ktana shchatz is similar. Viktana. She's 9 years old. Let's say her father married her off when she was 5, so it's a kedushin d'oraisa. She's a married minatorah. Now the husband dies with no children. She's 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Can you do chalitza on her? So we said that's a chalitza psula in the Mishnah. Again, the pasuk doesn't talk about, doesn't say isha at all. It says that the man will come forth, right? He doesn't want to take her, but also yivimto ashara. Okay, so the yavama, she comes up to the court, and there's a hekesh between yavama and ish. There's a hekesh there. So what are we saying here? This is the sheet of Rav Meir who holds. Okay, it says ish, and there's a hekesh between isha and ish. Even though it doesn't even say isha, but it's close enough. It says also yivimto ashara. So the Yavama is juxtaposed to the man, and just like the man has to be a bar mitzvah, it says ish. So the woman also has to be bat mitzvah. All right. So therefore, and therefore it's a chalitza psula. No, we just said over here that the ktana shecholza in the Mishnah. What happens? Tachlotz mishatagdol, but it's a chalitza psula. Imlo cholza chalitza psula. Why? Because she has to be a gadol, but she's abdolah. But the rabbis say no. It says ish. It doesn't say isha on the parsha, meaning even a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old who did chalitza, you instruct her what to do. It's a good chalitza. She doesn't have to wait till she's bat mitzvah. That's what the chums have a chamamim. Ish kasav a parsha. Isha begdol benkana. Machacham. Who are the sheet of the chum? Now this is a big question. Normally we would say that, like Rav Meir, that just like a man has to be bar mitzvah in order to do chalitza, as we said, it says ish. A woman also has to be bat mitzvah. The Rambam say no, it doesn't have to be. She could even be a kana, as we'll see. That's what the chum sheet. We'll see the psak later on. She should be bat mitzvah, but this is a opinion of a chacham over here that she doesn't have to be. Usually chacham means a tzibur. The Gemara says, no, man chacham and Rabbi Yossi. It's also an individual opinion. So machlokes between Rav Meir and Rabbi Yossi. Rav Meir says she must be bat mitzvah. Rabbi Yossi says she doesn't have to be bat mitzvah. Why? What was the story? How do we know Rabbi Yossi says this? Here's the story. Listen to this story. Rav Chia and Rav Shimon bar Rebbe, these two rabbis, they were sitting together. Rav Chia and Rav Shimon bar Rebbe. And he started to say, when you daven, where do you daven towards? You should have your eyes down towards Eretz Yisrael. In other words, you're davening, you put your head down, you daven towards Eretz Yisrael. But Hashem said to Shlomo, my eyes and my heart will be there in the base of Mikdash all the days. Okay. That's what he says. You should daven towards Eretz Yisrael. You're supposed to look up to God. Let's look up. We should lift up our hearts with our hands, lift them up like we look up to God. There was the discussion that they had. This difference of opinion. One said the other. Also Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Shmuel Rabbi Yossi came into them. Approached these two rabbis. What are you guys talking about? What are you discussing? Amalai, let's feel it. We're discussing how are you supposed to daven? Are you supposed to daven down towards Eretz Yisrael? Are you supposed to daven up? But this is what my father said. Who is his father? Rabbi Yossi. His name is Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. His father is Rabbi Yossi. You're supposed to look down, meaning look towards Eretz Yisrael, but your heart should be up to God, right? This way you fulfill both sukkim. You're davening towards Eretz Yisrael and you're davening to God. So you fulfill both. While this was going on, now there's three rabbis. Also Rebbe. The Rebbe, who was the father of Shimon Rebbe, came to the yeshiva. So the Rebbe came in to give the shiur. So what do? They all went and ran to their spots to sit down. The two young the rabbis, Rav Chia and Rav Rebbe, who were fast afoot, let's say they were lightweight, they quickly ran to their spots. Rav Shmuel Rabbi Yossi was a very fat man, he was a large man, took him a long time, he couldn't run to his spot, and he was walking slowly. Everybody else was sitting already, so it looked like he was walking on their heads because they used to sit on the floor. So Agav Yukrib, because he was heavy, he was walking slowly towards the spot. Amalei Abdon. Abdon, Tosa says it's an abbreviation for Abba Yudan. It's called Abdon. And he was a student of Rebbe, and he was like his shamas, like his assistant. Who is this guy who's walking on top of the heads of the students? Meaning, he was walking slowly to his spot, so it looked like he was trampling on everybody's head. I know Yishmael Rabbi Yossi. I'm Yishmael Rabbi Yossi. Shabasi L'Matam Rebbe. I came here to learn Torah from Rebbe, from your rabbi. Are you fit to learn Torah from Rebbe? So now that was a little bit of a put down. So he answered, was Moshe fit to learn Torah from God? And you think you're Moshe? Elokimu is Rebbe, your Rebbe. Is he God? He didn't say B'chi Rebbe. He said B'chi Rabcha, your rabbi. Rabbi says Shakle Rebbe lemitrase. Rebbe took his punishment over here, meaning he got paid for it because by not objecting to this discussion of his assistant with Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, and as if them was putting him down, so he got paid back because Shmuel Rabbi Yossi says, "Is your rabbi God?" Meaning it's also his rabbi. Shmuel Rabbi Yossi came. I heard from Rebbe come, "Is your rabbi God?" So he got punished for this. The Kamalei Rabchak, he says, "Your rabbi below Rebbe." Okay, that was the discussion. While this was going on, this little bit of a discussion, like who's sitting down here, who are you, and all this. Of course, it was all the Shem Shemayim. He meant the Shem Shemayim, but it wasn't nice what he said. While this was going on, a Yavama came into the base medrash to get chalitz, like I'm at Rebbe. Amalei Rebbe Labin, so Rebbe said, "Dabno, this looks like a young girl. Go check her out if she's bat mitzvah. Have her checked out by the women over there. Go see if she's bat mitzvah. She's ready to get chalitz yet. Puk batka." The bus enough after he went out. Amalei Shmuel Yossi, Rabbi Shmuel says, "Why does she have to be bat mitzvah?" This is what my father said, Rabbi Yossi. That's what we started by saying. Rabbi Yossi, he was the chacham who said you don't have to be bat mitzvah. It says ish, a man, but when it comes to a man, chalitza has to be with a man. If he's not bar mitzvah, you can't do chalitza. But the woman, whether she's a gdol or she could do chalitza. Omerlei. So Rebbe then said to Abdan, you don't have to. You don't have to go check if she's a bat mitzvah or not. Far hora zaken, the zaken, Rabbi Yossi already paskin. Okay, so you're paskin. So now Ibdan came back in. Kamivsa Abdan Basi. So now Ibdan, now he was walking into the base measures, going to his spot, so to speak, walking on everybody's heads. Amlet Rishma Rabbi Yossi, Misha Tzarch Loam Kadosh Yivsa Al Rashayam. People who need this man, in other words, a person who is needed by the people, like me. I'm needed by the people because I gave the psak over here. Misha, what did he say? Misha Tzarch Loam Kadosh. A person who is needed by the holy nation, by the Jews, Yivsal Rosh Am Kodesh, he can trample over the people's heads, meaning he was talking about himself. I just gave the psak over here. I pointed out my father said she doesn't have to be a Goli. You could do Chalitza even now if she's a Kana. So I was needed, I can trample. Misha Ein Tzarch La'am Kadosh, but somebody who is not needed by the holy people, meaning you, what's your job? You're just the assistant over here. How are you able to walk on top of everybody's heads, meaning how you're showing disrespect now? Rebbe Abdan. So Rebbe said to Abdan, stop in your tracks. Don't move. And others right. He's right. Don't walk over everybody because you're not so important. Tana, we learned Ba'osasha at that time that Abdan, he became a leper because of the disrespect that he had shown, and now he was put down. The Tavushte Barav Rachman, his two sons were drowned. Umanu, but his two daughters-in-law, who apparently they were ketanim and they weren't married by their father. I guess their father did not marry them off, or he had married them off previously, married off by the mother, did miyun either on other brothers, or maybe the miyun took place before the brothers died, or before the two sons died. In any case, a lot of bad things befell this family of Abdan. He got leprosy, his sons died, his daughters-in-law had did miyun, walked away. Blessed be Hashem, the kasvei la'abdan b'hayalma, who shamed Abdan in this world so that he get a share in the next world. In other words, he was put down in this world in order to get so that he would have a good share in the next world. He was punished in this world. Amar Ravami, Berebi, from the words of Berebi. Berebi means an important person, referring here to Rav Yossi, who paskin that a woman can get chalitza even if she's a ketana. Nilma, that we learn that ketana choletzin paputos, that a girl can get chalitza even if she's a young girl, she's 6 or 7, as long as she can follow the rules. You know, you tell her what to do, untie the shoe, remove the shoe, spit, do all the things, read the psukim. She can also do chalitza. Rav Amar she must reach a year. Onus Torah means onus adorim. A year. We learn in Adorim that a boy or a girl a year before their bar mitzvah, that would be 12 years old for a boy, 11 years old for a girl. Their netter is a netter if they understand what they're saying. So that's called onus adorim a year before. So Rabbah says you shouldn't do chalitza until she's at least 11. The halach is she must be a full bat mitzvah, meaning sharim and presumably shtei saros, in order to do chalitza. So both a boy and a girl have to be bar and bat mitzvah in order to do chalitza. Chalta b'shnaim. So we said in the Mishnah, the first Mishnah, the Parak said this chalitza with 3. Rabbi Yehuda said with 5. Then we said again in this Mishnah, chalta b'shnaim av shlosha. If she did chalitza in front of two judges, or in front of 3, and one of them was found to be puzzle, it's no good. You need 3. They say it's okay even with 2. The halach is not like those 2, meaning 2 isn't good enough. You need 3. Rav Nachman already said it once before at the beginning of the parak. What did he say? He said, "What's the girsa?" Rav Nachman, halacha chalitza b'shlosha. Halacha is that you need 3. That's what we said before. You had that the other day. Nachman said the halacha is chalitza with 3. So what is he saying now again? The halacha is not like those 2 who said that 2 is good enough, like that the pair of rabbis who said that 2 is good enough. The halacha is not like them. He already said that halacha is that you need 3. There's 3 kind of both. Be it marach kamaisa, if you would only have the first thing where he said halacha is chalitza b'shlosha. That's only lechatchila. You should have 3. If you did it with 2, after a tray is also good. Kamashma, no. Ein halacha goes. So the halacha is not like those 2 rabbis who say that 2 is good enough. You need 3. Kamashma, ein halacha goes. So if you ask me, ein halacha goes. If you tell me halacha is not like that pair that say 2 is good enough. Ela katana kama, like the avimena. Also, that's only 3, the halacha is not like them. The halacha is like the Tanakama that you need 3, but I mean that's only the evet. Maybe you should need 5, like Rabbi's opinion. Therefore, he tells me no, that all you need is 3. As we said before, sometimes you have 5 for persume to publicize it, but all you need is 3. But the evet you also need 3. 2 is not good enough. Then we said there was a story where they did it Ben Olam Atzma. There wasn't even one rabbi there, and Rabbi Kiva was machshir when it came to the story. What was the story? That a person would, a man gave chalitza with his wife, or she took off his shoe, etc. She performed the chalitza on him. To actually, we say he gave her chalitza, but she actually performs it on him. And with themselves, there was no rabbis there. That was the story. In jail. And they did it themselves. And the Bama Kiva says it's also kosher. We don't pass in that way. But how does the story work? If they only did it between themselves, how do we even know about it? I mean, he said he did it. He's not believed about himself. Adam outside the jail saw it took place. They saw it took place. So was the story that it took place outside the jail. And Rabbi Kiva was incarcerated. They told him the story, gave him the psak. The story took place in jail, and then they told him about it. And where was he? He was in jail. Maybe he was not in jail. The Gemara says no. The story took place in jail with Adam, so they knew it took place. And then the Maisa came before Rabbi Kiva, who was also in jail, but he didn't witness it. It wasn't like it was in front of him, but he said that's also good enough as long as he knew it took place, because there were Adam who saw it take place. Thus goes on to say that how did it work out that Rabbi Yochanan Sandler would hint to Rabbi Kiva because he was in jail. They weren't allowed to ask shilas, so he hinted to him with questions, and like he was selling something, and he hinted at the answer. But in any case, the story is that it took place in jail, and they asked Rabbi Kiva, but when it took place, it really didn't take place in front of any judge. Except 3 people. There were 2 Adam who saw it, but there was no really judge there. But we don't paskin. We paskin that chalitza based on the pasuk, because we said zikne, and you have to have you can't have peasant shakel. That's learned out. You can't have an even amount, and therefore you need 3. So you need 3 lechachila, and you need 3 b'di'evet. All right, we'll pick them here tomorrow. It's Ton Rabbanan, top of the page.
Thank you.
Have a good day.